Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we will walk a path of wisdom and discovery together. Zen Buddhism holds profound teachings that can transform how we experience life, and we will explore these truths through gentle stories and heartfelt reflections. Before we begin, if you feel called, feel free to share which country you are listening from and what time it is there. From what corner of the world are you breathing with us? What you will find here are invitations to both awaken and to rest. These are road signs pointing toward the horizon. Do not hold on to the sign, simply notice the direction. We will uncover simple truths the busy mind often overlooks, but which the quiet heart recognizes. We will find rest in ancient narratives that reveal more than they explain. We will learn to see our thoughts as ripples in a pond, while the water remains undisturbed. Difficult emotions will be met as travelers with messages for us to hear. This is a space for inner gardening, a place to nurture the mind and awaken the spirit. Here you can simply be, breathe, and allow the words to guide you inward. You already possess everything you need. We are just here to remember what has always been within you. If these words resonate deeply, return whenever you need this quiet meeting. Subscribe to keep this harbor of peace close. Now, take a deep breath and arrive in this moment. Settle into your space, allowing your body to feel supported and heavy. Let go of the day you have just lived, releasing its weight from your shoulders. Simply notice your breath, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your own stillness. The sheltered prince, the veiled truth of comfort. Tonight we begin with a story that sits at the very heart of the Buddhist teachings. It is the story of a young man named Siddhartha, a prince who lived a life of extraordinary comfort and ease. His father, a king, was determined to protect his son from any hint of the world's suffering. He built 3 magnificent palaces, one for each season, filled with every imaginable pleasure. The king believed that if Siddhartha never knew pain, he would never feel the desire to leave his royal life behind. This is where our journey into Zen wisdom begins. The palace gardens were a masterpiece of design, crafted to create a sense of eternal spring. Fountains murmured softly, their waters catching the light like scattered jewels. The air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and lotus flowers, and the songs of rare birds filled the tranquil atmosphere. Siddhartha was surrounded by youth, health, and beauty. The elderly, the sick, and even the sight of a withered flower were forbidden from his presence. His world was a perfect, unchanging tapestry woven with threads of happiness. This perfect world was a beautiful cage. The king's love, in its fierce desire to protect, created a deep ignorance in the prince. This ignorance, in Buddhist teachings, is called avidya. It is not a lack of intelligence, but a kind of blindness to the true nature of existence. It is the friction that arises when our expectations clash with reality. Siddhartha's reality was carefully controlled, and therefore, he had no reason to question the source of true and lasting peace. Within this flawless world, the prince experienced a life without friction, or so it seemed. His every need was met, his every desire fulfilled before it could fully form. Yet, a quiet curiosity began to stir within him. He would watch the birds fly over the high palace walls and wonder about the world that lay beyond. What was this unseen place that was so carefully hidden from him? This gentle stirring was the first whisper of awareness, the beginning of a profound awakening. The king saw this restlessness and doubled his efforts. He arranged for Siddhartha to marry a beautiful princess, Yashodhara, and they soon had a son. The king hoped that the bonds of family and the joys of fatherhood would finally quiet the prince's searching heart. For a time, it seemed to work. Siddhartha embraced his role as a husband and father, finding deep love and contentment in his family. But the peace was like a shallow pool, easily disturbed by the deep currents of an unknown truth. This story of the Sheltered Prince is not just an ancient tale, it is a mirror for our own minds. We all build palaces in our own way, surrounding ourselves with comforts, routines and beliefs that shield us from the uncomfortable truths of life. We seek pleasure and avoid pain, clinging to what is familiar and fearing the unknown. We curate our lives to create the illusion of permanence in a world that is always changing. This is the nature of our shared human suffering. The teachings of Zen wisdom invite us to look beyond our own palace walls. They encourage us to develop the courage to see things as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. This does not mean we must seek out suffering. It means we must not turn away from it when it appears. The path to freedom begins with the simple, honest recognition of reality. It is a path of presence and clear seeing. The young monk-to-be, Siddhartha, felt this pull. The perfect world his father had constructed began to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a beautifully decorated prison. The endless pleasures started to taste of emptiness. A deep longing for authenticity grew stronger each day. He knew, with a certainty that came from a place deeper than thought, that he had to see the world for himself, unfiltered and unadorned. His journey to becoming the Buddha was about to truly begin. This deep-seated impulse to understand the nature of existence is the starting point for all spiritual seeking. It is a quiet, persistent question that asks, is there more to life than this? Is there a peace that does not depend on external conditions? The prince's story reminds us that true stillness is not found in the absence of noise, but in the heart of it. It is an inner stillness that can hold both pleasure and pain. As the Buddha would later teach, seeing things as they are is the first step toward liberation. Our journey tonight is an invitation to cultivate this kind of clear seeing, to gently notice the ways we hide from reality and to soften our grip on the things we cling to for comfort. By observing the story of the prince, we begin our own impermanence practice, learning to find our footing in the ever-flowing river of life, right here and now, the four sights, the truth of human suffering. The Prince Siddhartha, now a young man, could no longer contain his curiosity. He pleaded with his father to allow him to visit the city, and the king, unable to refuse his son forever, reluctantly agreed. However, he commanded his men to prepare the streets. They were to clear away anyone old, sick, or distressed. The city was to be a perfect reflection of the palace, filled only with smiling, healthy young people. But the universe had a different plan, a deeper lesson to teach. As Siddhartha rode through the pristine, decorated streets in his chariot, a god, knowing it was time for the prince to awaken, took the form of a frail, old man. He stood by the side of the road, his back bent like a bow, his skin wrinkled and his body trembling. Siddhartha had never seen such a thing. He asked his charioteer, Channa, what it was. Channa, compelled by a divine force, had to tell the truth. It was an old man, and old age is a fate that comes to all beings. This first sight pierced the prince's heart like an arrow. The manufactured joy of the city dissolved before his eyes, replaced by a profound and unsettling question. If this is what happens to everyone, how can anyone live with such carefree joy? The procession continued, and soon another divine manifestation appeared. This time, it was a man writhing in pain on the ground, his body covered in sores. It was a sick man, Channa explained, and sickness can strike anyone at any time, without warning. The second sight deepened the crack in Siddhartha's perfect world. The certainty of his own health and vitality vanished. He saw that life was fragile, a delicate vessel that could be broken at any moment. Then, a third sight appeared, a still, silent form being carried by weeping mourners. It was a dead body, Channa told him, and this too is the natural end for all that lives. The finality of this sight shook the prince to his very core. Age, sickness, and death. This was the true inheritance of every human being. These three encounters are known in Buddhist teachings as the first three of the four sights. They represent the direct, unshielded confrontation with the reality of suffering, or what is called dukkha in the ancient Pali language. This is not simply pain or unhappiness. It is a deeper, more pervasive sense of unsatisfactoriness, a fundamental friction that comes with being alive in a world that is always changing, a world where nothing is permanent. This is the first noble truth. Siddhartha returned to the palace a changed man. The music sounded hollow, the food tasted bland, and the beautiful faces around him seemed like masks, hiding an inevitable fate. The pleasures that once defined his world now felt like a cruel joke. He could not unsee what he had seen. The truth of dukkha had planted a seed of profound disquiet in his heart. His life of sheltered ease was over, not because the walls had fallen, but because his awareness had expanded beyond them. The king, sensing his son's despair, arranged for another trip, hoping to distract him with more festivities. But the fourth and final sight was waiting. This time, Siddhartha saw a wandering ascetic, a holy man with a shaved head, a simple robe, and a look of profound peace on his face. He had nothing, yet he seemed to possess a stillness that the prince, with all his riches, had never known. "Who is that?" he asked Channa, his heart filled with a new kind of wonder. Channa explained that this was a man who had renounced the world and was seeking a way to end all suffering. In that moment, the prince saw not an escape, but a path. The first three sights had revealed the sickness, but this fourth sight revealed the possibility of a cure. It was a vision of hope, a direction for his searching heart. The path was not in avoiding suffering, but in understanding it so deeply that one could be free from its grip. This is the essence of the spiritual path. It does not promise to remove the realities of old age, sickness, and death. Instead, it offers a way to relate to them with wisdom, compassion, and equanimity. It teaches us to stop running from the inevitable and to turn inward, to find the source of our own inner peace. The prince now knew what he had to do. His life was no longer about seeking pleasure, but about seeking liberation. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, or Thich Nhat Hanh, reminds us that without mud, you cannot grow a lotus flower. He teaches that we should not be afraid of our suffering. We must be willing to touch it, to hold it with gentle awareness. It is by embracing the truth of our dukkha, just as Siddhartha did, that we can begin to find the path that leads to its transformation. The path to peace requires us to look directly at what is difficult, both in the world and within ourselves. The great renunciation, the courage of letting go. In the palace illuminated by golden lanterns and gentle laughter, Siddhartha found himself torn between love and purpose. Each day, the faces of his wife, Yashodhara, and their newborn son, Rahula, filled him with warmth and longing. Yet, the truth revealed by the four sights, old age, sickness, death, and the possibility of awakening, could not be ignored. The world's suffering became an ache too deep to silence. He understood that true compassion required more than comfort. It demanded the courage to question everything he had ever known. The king, Siddhartha's father, sensed his restlessness and did everything to strengthen the fortress of pleasure and familiarity. He filled the palace with musicians, dancers, and fragrant feasts. Friends and servants tried to keep the prince occupied, urging him to celebrate his destiny. Even the winds brought in perfumed air, as if nature itself wished to soothe Siddhartha's heart. But in moments of solitude, the prince watched the moon drift above the palace walls and felt a quiet yearning beyond words. The decision to leave was neither sudden nor cold. Siddhartha's love for his family was profound, growing deeper each night as he watched his wife and son sleep. He knew he would break their hearts and his own, and yet the call to seek the end of dukkha, the universal suffering, pulled him forward. Love, in its truest form, wished for the liberation of all beings, not just oneself or those closest. Siddhartha's tears mingled with hope as he realized his sacrifices might become a balm for the world. On the night of his departure, Siddhartha moved quietly through the palace halls. The cool marble beneath his bare feet, the faint light warming the doorframes, every sound seemed glued to memory. He stepped into Yashodhara's chamber, grateful for the deep, peaceful breaths of sleep that filled the air. 1,000 silent goodbyes danced within him. A father's hand lingered near the cradle, while a husband's eyes softly closed, letting love become his inner prayer. He turned from all he held precious, trusting the unknown. At the edge of the palace grounds, Siddhartha met his loyal charioteer, Channa. The night was veiled in hush, stars glittering overhead, illuminating the last steps before renunciation. Siddhartha removed his ornate jewels, the tokens of royal lineage, and cut off his long hair, a symbol of worldly identity, with Channa's sword. He gifted his princely attire to Channa, insistent that the message of his leaving be relayed to his family and kingdom. In that moment, Siddhartha shed the role of prince, donning the humble garb of a wanderer. The first steps into exile were heavy, each stride carrying the weight of both loss and hope. Siddhartha entered the quiet forest, where shadows merged with the echoes of his resolve. Cool dew soaked his feet, and the wind tangled gently through his cropped hair. The night creatures watched in silence, as if witnessing the birth of a great vow, one that would reach far beyond the limits of tradition, family, and self. The Buddha-to-be began a journey marked by solitude and sacrifice. He left behind privilege, comfort, and certainty for the open road, where suffering and wisdom lived side by side. The pangs of longing for home were real, but he walked not out of rejection, but from an aspiration to find a cure for all hearts. His act was both radical and compassionate, a demonstration that liberation required letting go of even the deepest attachments. Buddhist teachings illuminate this moment as the heart of non-attachment. True love does not grasp or bind, it lets go in order to find freedom. This is not contempt or coldness, but the highest act of care, relinquishing control so others and oneself can grow into wholeness. Siddhartha's renunciation does not diminish his love. Instead, it becomes vast enough to embrace everyone, dissolving the boundaries between self and world. For years, Siddhartha wandered, seeking guidance from sages and renunciates. He practiced rigorous disciplines, testing the edges of human endurance, learning from hunger and fatigue. Each teacher revealed a piece of the puzzle, but none offered the complete path. Siddhartha's journey was not the seeking of isolation, but the shedding of limiting identities, son, prince, husband, so that the light of awareness could touch everything inside and out. The legend teaches us, we, too, cling to titles, possessions, opinions, and habits, believing they give meaning and security. Renunciation invites us to lay these burdens aside, even for a moment, and to trust that true meaning is born from presence, not accumulation. In the simple act of letting go, of an expectation, a hurt, the story we tell about ourselves, is a gentle liberation. Each time we do it, we become more spacious, more capable of loving fully, Jack Cornfield once said, "To let go means to let be." Non-attachment is not emptiness, it is spaciousness for whatever arises. Siddhartha did not erase love for his family. He let it be, expanded, opened, and tender enough to include all beings. His path was a journey from the grip of personal desire to the inclusive embrace of compassion. This renunciation is the door opener for every seeker. It marks the authentic beginning of the spiritual path. As you settle for deep rest tonight, reflect on your own attachments. What might you gently place down, even briefly? What hopes or fears can you soften with breath, trusting that letting go brings freedom, and freedom brings compassion? With each exhale, release a small weight, allowing peace to root and blossom in the tender soil of your being. This is the true courage of letting go, to trade certainty for sincerity, comfort for truth, habit for presence. In every relinquishment, you find new space to breathe, to grow, and to love beyond measure. Renunciation, like the prince's, becomes not a loss, but a turning of the heart toward the infinite possibility of awakening. The path of asceticism, the wisdom of the middle way. Siddhartha's bare feet moved softly over dew-soaked leaves as he left the safety of home behind, embracing the life of a wandering seeker. His first steps brought him deep into the forests and riversides of ancient India, places where the air trembled with birdsong and early sun filtered gently through branches. It was here, far from the comfort of royal halls, that Siddhartha's real journey began. A journey marked not by what he gained, but by all he surrendered. Seeking the meaning of suffering and the freedom that eluded him, Siddhartha became a student of renowned spiritual teachers. Their words guided him into the subtle realms of the mind, stillness beyond breath, awareness brighter than sunlight, techniques ancient as the land itself. He quickly mastered meditative concentrations. His breath slowed, senses sharpened. Yet each time the meditation ended, the edge of suffering returned, a dull ache that no discipline could erase. Longing for a deeper answer, Siddhartha joined 5 ascetics, men hollowed by long hunger and fierce belief. They considered the body an obstacle, something to be conquered and subdued so the spirit could break free. Siddhartha gave himself to this practice, fasting until his limbs trembled, enduring heat and cold without complaint, holding breath for impossible lengths, sleeping upright on beds of needles. His robes grew threadbare, his flesh sunken tight around bone. Nature watched in quiet witness. Birds sang, streams flowed. The world moved on as Siddhartha imposed ever greater trials on himself. For 6 long years, he walked the razor's edge between life and death, convinced that liberation must be the fruit of self-denial. His companions admired his discipline, sometimes emulating his severity, eyes gleaming with hope as they pushed the boundaries of endurance. But the harder he tried, the thinner the veil between effort and futility became. Hunger blurred his sight, pain filled each thought, and even sleep offered little relief. His mind, once luminous and clear, became fogged by exhaustion. He noticed how the forest, so vibrant in earlier days, now appeared grey and distant, as though his own senses were shrinking deeper inside, away from the world's living embrace. A constant tension replaced the freedom he sought. One morning, battling dizziness by the riverbank, Siddhartha collapsed under the weight of deprivation. His breath came slow, mind drifting in and out of awareness, body barely clinging to life. In this desperate stillness, a village girl named Sujata approached, carrying a bowl of milk rice. With gentle compassion, she knelt beside the frail ascetic, offering sustenance with no demand or expectation. Her kindness, quiet and natural, shone in stark contrast to the turmoil of Siddhartha's pursuit. When he accepted the food, Nourishment revived his senses, and the fog began to lift. His 5 companions watched in horror and disappointment, believing the prince had forsaken the path, succumbed to weakness. They turned away, their silent reproach more cutting than hunger. Yet, for Siddhartha, this meal was a revelation. The body was not an enemy, but a vessel, deserving care and balance. To experience life fully, one must honor both spirit and flesh. This moment brought to mind a memory from childhood, sitting peacefully under a rose-apple tree, heart untroubled, breath gentle, mind content. The peace had come effortlessly, naturally, without tension or striving. Siddhartha realized the error in both extremes: indulgence and deprivation, attachment and rejection, longing and aversion. A path existed between, where freedom bloomed in balance, presence, and gentle acceptance. He saw the truth in the world's music. A sitar string too tight would snap, too loose would not play. Harmony was found in the middle, in careful tuning and relaxed attention. The middle way, or Madhyama Pratipada, became clear. Avoid extremes, accept the entirety of the human experience. True wisdom lies in embracing both joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, without getting pulled by the illusions of control or resistance. Siddhartha's companions, unable to understand, left him alone. Yet in solitude, he felt more connected than ever. The forest seemed to soften. The river's song grew clearer. The touch of sunlight became comforting. Alone, he could hear the gentle call of awakening. No longer a battle, but a quiet invitation to rest in what is. The path forward would be walked without fear, urgency, or the violence of self-punishment. This realization is at the heart of Buddhist teaching. The spiritual journey is not war against yourself, but wisdom born of kindness. Do not cast away the body. Do not drown in pleasure. Instead, treat yourself as a dear friend. Practice mindfulness, listening for the subtle tensions gathering in your chest, the gentle ease that comes when you allow yourself to be fully present. The Buddha would teach the middle way as the refuge for all who seek freedom. The invitation is gentle. Notice your own extremes: overwork, self-criticism, escape into pleasure or pain. Return again to the center, the place of steady breath, open hands, and compassionate attention. Beneath simple moments, walking, eating, listening to birds, you can find the balance and grace that bring deep rest and awakening. Tonight, let your own body settle as Siddhartha did by the river, honoring the vessel that carries you. When hunger, fatigue, or longing appear, greet them without judgment or force. Allow your breath to find its natural rhythm, tuning body and mind to gentle harmony. The wisdom of the middle way will cradle you in sleep, teaching you that freedom and peace are never far. They bloom when you surrender extremes and return, again and again, to the heart of balance, the Bodhi tree, touching the earth of the present. There, beside the slow-moving Neranjara river, Siddhartha finally found a resting place beneath a vast and ancient fig tree, its roots sprawling deep into the nurturing earth. The tree, known ever after as the Bodhi tree, would become a living witness to a profound transformation. Here, Siddhartha cleaned the patch of ground with care, laid a simple cushion of kusa grass, and seated himself, spine straight and heart resolute. He vowed softly, "I will not rise from this seat until I have found the end of suffering, the root of peace and freedom, even if only my bones and skin remain." As dusk settled and the forest grew quiet, Siddhartha's breath slowed. Each inhalation filled his body with calm. Each exhalation released old fears and expectations. The world hushed. The river became a silken ribbon of silver in the moon's glow. Beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha allowed himself to rest completely in presence. There was nowhere else to be. His body ached, and memories flickered through his mind, but a growing stillness enveloped him, both ferocious and gentle. Night deepened, naming the time when the mind is most vulnerable to ghosts and shadows. Here, the ancient texts tell us, Mara, the demon of delusion, arrived. Mara was not a monster made of smoke and fangs, but the living shapes of Siddhartha's own deepest doubts, cravings, and fears. Outside, the forest trembled with wind and strange sounds. Inside, Siddhartha met desire as Mara's daughters danced with all the allurements of pleasure. Their beauty and charm pulled at old longings, whispering that comfort and escape were within reach. Yet Siddhartha watched quietly, letting such visions pass like clouds in the night sky, neither pushing away nor clinging. Mara grew restless and sent forth an army of spectres, hurling threats and pain. They shouted, banged drums, conjured storms, and cast obstacles, arrows turning mid-air into flowers, boulders turning into rain. Through it all, Siddhartha's awareness grew steady. He neither fought nor flinched, allowing even terror to pass through him untouched. A river flowing through a valley of stones. "I see you, Mara," he would say, voice calm as autumn wind, naming each visitor and thus robbing it of its secret power. Then Mara's last weapon arrived, doubt. He challenged Siddhartha's worth, speaking with a voice that seemed so familiar. "Who do you think you are to sit beneath this tree? What gives you the right to seek awakening? Who will witness this moment?" This is the voice in every human heart that murmurs, "Not enough, not worthy, destined to fail." But instead of retreating into shame or anger, Siddhartha lowered his right hand and gently touched the cool earth, feeling its solid peace. In that gesture, called the earth-touching mudra, Siddhartha reached beyond the loneliness of self. The earth, silent and immense, bore witness to his presence. Mara's accusations fell away, lost like leaves into wet grass. Siddhartha sat grounded, holding no story about who should or should not awaken. He joined with all of life, root and stone, worm and wind, silence and sound, the unseen ancestors buried in the dark soil. He had nothing left to prove, nothing left to fear. The hours wore on, stars turning overhead. In this depth, Siddhartha's mind grew serene, his vision clarified. He saw the causes of suffering, how craving, aversion and ignorance keep beings spinning from pain to pain. In his insight rose understanding. Life is a web of interconnected causes and conditions, a vast tapestry forever changing, never owned or controlled. By releasing grasping, he saw freedom was already present. True peace came not from conquering Mara, but from recognizing Mara as part of himself, worthy of compassion and clear seeing. As the eastern sky began to pale, Siddhartha's awareness blossomed open. He felt the suffering of all beings, animals and humans, rivals and friends, the lonely and the lost, and his heart overflowed with boundless compassion. He saw not just his own life, but lives upon lives, all seeking joy, all fleeing pain, each caught in cycles of ignorance and longing. In a moment both blazing and peaceful, he awakened fully, seeing directly into the ever-changing, luminous nature of reality. He had become the Buddha, the awakened one, teacher of the path to liberation. The first rays of dawn caught in the leaves above, dappling his face and hands. In that light, the Buddha sat, unmoving, breathing as one with the earth, the river, the sky. He was content not because nothing would ever hurt again, but because he had discovered the path that neither rejects nor clings, that finds peace in the very heart of impermanence. This was the beginning not just of his freedom, but of a new world for all who yearn for rest. Years later, when asked how to meet fear or desire, the Buddha would say, Touch the earth. Find the ground beneath restlessness, confusion, urgency. Meet every Mara with compassion, and sit until you see yourself not as separate but as life itself. The story of the Bodhi tree is a story of profound surrender, openness, and the grace of simply being present. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki Roshi once said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few." Underneath the Bodhi tree, every idea of expertise fell away, leaving only the mystery, the openness, the living silence that supports all growth. The gift of awakening was not escape from life, but full participation in it, breathing, touching, loving, waking, resting, dying, and being born again with every breath. So tonight, whenever your mind stirs with old voices, cravings, or doubts, you are invited to touch the earth, literally or just in imagination. Feel the support beneath you. Breathe and know that you belong, without proof or permission, simply by being alive. The path to freedom is here, subtle and open, waiting only for your gentle return. The first turning of the wheel, the Four Noble Truths. In the golden light of early morning, the Buddha rose from meditation under the Bodhi tree, gently stretching limbs that held the memory of overnight stillness. The air was cool and fragrant, birds calling from hidden groves as the newly awakened one felt a newfound clarity rising in his heart. A quiet question settled in his mind. Should he share what he had seen? Would any being, lost in longing or misperception, be able to comprehend the freedom he had discovered through deep seeing? As he walked, mindful and slow, a luminous presence, said by some to be Brahma himself, approached and bowed deeply. "Master," the presence whispered, "there are those with but little dust in their eyes. For their sake, turn the wheel of Dharma. Teach the way of peace." The Buddha listened and, moved by compassion, agreed. The path forward called not for silence, but for gentle action and wise teaching. His steps led him to Sarnath, a place of deer and quiet green, where his 5 former companions still sought enlightenment among trees and shaded paths. The journey through forests and fields was vibrant, each step a meditation, every scent and sound enfolded in attention. The Buddha felt deep gratitude for roots, rocks, the play of sunlight, and the company of unseen animals. When hunger stirred, he accepted simple food from villagers, meeting their gaze with humility, letting kindness pass between their hands and his own. The whole world was grasped lightly, experienced fully, not clung to, nor rejected. Arriving at the deer park, his 5 old friends first saw Siddhartha approaching with calm and radiance. They murmured among themselves. He abandoned the path. He left asceticism behind and accepted comfort. Still, something in his being drew them nearer, curiosity chasing doubt. The Buddha greeted them with warmth, neither hiding his change nor chastising their confusion. He shared his story, struggles, mistakes, and gentle insight, creating an atmosphere of honest reflection. Beneath the wide-reaching branches, the Buddha introduced the middle way, his voice carrying the wisdom born from living both extremes. "There is a path," he said, "between indulgence and self-mortification, a gentle way that leads to peace." The grass beneath their feet, the hum of insects, and the distant cry of deer lent the assembly an aura of sacred intimacy. The Buddha's presence was soft but unmovable, like the sky itself. He began with the first noble truth. All conditioned life is marked by suffering, dukkha, aging, illness, loss, longing, disappointment, unease. This is not failure nor punishment, but the natural law woven into existence. He spoke with steady compassion, naming pain so that it may be recognized and soothed, not ignored or dramatized. He guided them to see dukkha in all forms, the ache for what is absent, the discomfort with what remains, the subtle restlessness that colors even happy moments. Next, the second noble truth. Suffering arises from craving, from attachment, from thirsting for pleasure, permanence, recognition, or control. We grasp after what cannot last, resist change, and so we suffer. Eyes closed, each companion felt these words land in their own experience, dreams, efforts, relationships, all marked by the anxious tide of grasping. The Buddha related stories of his own cravings and struggles, dissolving any barrier between teacher and student. He continued with the third noble truth. There can be an end to suffering, Nirodha. When craving ceases, when the grip of grasping loosens, peace and joy arise unbidden. We may rest in the flow of life, neither clinging nor pushing away. The air seemed to shimmer with relief. The possibility that suffering could end was both mysterious and hopeful. A gentle breeze joined the teaching as if nature itself sighed with understanding. Last, the fourth noble truth. There is a path leading to the end of suffering, the noble eightfold path. The Buddha listed its steps with patient care. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Each part of the path was explained, not as rule or punishment, but as practice, as loving discipline, as the way to walk with clarity through confusion, to hold compassion amidst challenge. As the Buddha spoke, deer wandered quietly nearby, their soft eyes meeting the assembly. The 5 companions leaned forward, their hearts moved not only by words, but by the unspoken gentle authority of their teacher. The Buddha invited them to question, experiment, not accept blindly, but explore each truth as a traveler tests the ground beneath their feet. He encouraged their beginner's mind, honoring doubt as the gateway to understanding. After the teaching, a deep silence enveloped the group. The sun rose higher, scattering gold across the leaves. Kaundinya, the eldest, felt a veil lift from his perception. He understood suffering, its cause, its end, and the way to peace. The Buddha smiled, naming his awakening. The Dharma wheel turned for the first time, a quiet revolution echoing through time, setting in motion a lineage of compassion, clarity, and skillful means. The Sangha, the spiritual community, was born in that moment. Walking, sitting, sharing meals, attending to work and meditation, they began to embody the teachings in daily rhythm. The Dharma did not remain in the deer park, but traveled outward, to farmers, mothers, kings, hermits, the ailing and the lonely. The Buddha's words mingled with the wind, dispersing seeds of presence, attention, and release. In centuries that followed, the first turning of the wheel became a symbol of possibility, that wounded hearts can find healing, restless minds can be steadied, and each breath contains the path home. Zen masters would quote the Dhammapada, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." The 4 noble truths framed each practice, each challenge, each act of listening. Tonight, let the teachings of that day serve as a soft guide. Pause, feel your breath. Notice suffering with patience. Seek its roots with gentle honesty. Believe in freedom, and walk each step of your path with awareness. The wheel turns quietly in every moment you listen, forgive, rest, and return. The Sangha and compassion, the robber and the monk. With the first sermon, the community of awakened ones, the Sangha, was born. It began with the Buddha and his first 5 disciples, but it quickly grew. People from all walks of life, from kings and queens to merchants and farmers, were drawn to the clarity and peace of his teachings. The Sangha was a radical concept at the time. It was a community based not on birth or social status, but on a shared commitment to wisdom and compassion. One of the most powerful stories demonstrating the Buddha's fearless compassion is the tale of Angulimala. His name literally meant garland of fingers because he was a terrifying murderer who wore a necklace made from the fingers of his victims. He lived in a forest and terrorized the entire region. People were so afraid of him that they would not even travel on the road that passed his forest. He was the embodiment of violence and hatred. One day, the Buddha, with his calm and steady awareness, saw that Angulimala's heart was ripe for transformation, despite the terrible deeds he had committed. Against the advice of everyone, the Buddha set out alone, walking directly toward the forest where the murderer lived. Villagers pleaded with him not to go, warning him that he would surely be the next victim. But the Buddha's compassion, his karuna, was a force far more powerful than fear. Angulimala saw the lone monk walking calmly toward him and was amazed. No one had ever dared to do this before. He thought this would be an easy kill. He grabbed his sword and started running toward the Buddha. But a strange thing happened. Though the Buddha was only walking at a normal, gentle pace, Angulimala could not catch up to him, no matter how fast he ran. He was running with all his might, but the distance between them remained the same. Exhausted and bewildered, he shouted, "Stop, monk! Stop!" The Buddha, continuing his calm and even pace, turned his head slightly and replied with a voice full of peace, "I have stopped, Angulimala. It is you who have not stopped." These words struck the murderer like a thunderbolt. What could this mean? He was standing still, panting for breath, while the monk was still walking. The Buddha explained, "I have stopped creating harm. I have put down the sword of violence and hatred. You are the one who is still running, still caught in the endless cycle of causing suffering for yourself and others." In that moment, Angulimala saw the truth of his own life. He saw the immense pain he had caused and the deep suffering that fueled his own rage. The weight of his actions crashed down upon him. Overwhelmed with remorse, he threw down his sword and prostrated himself at the Buddha's feet, weeping. The Buddha's fearless compassion had broken through years of hatred and violence. He had not preached at him or condemned him. He had simply shown him a different way of being, a way of stillness and peace. He saw the potential for awakening within Angulimala, not just the murderer. This is the nature of true compassion. Angulimala asked to be ordained as a monk, and the Buddha accepted him into the Sangha. His transformation was not easy. When he went into the village for alms, people who had lost family members to him threw stones and cursed him. He bore their anger with patience, understanding it was the natural consequence of his past actions. Through dedicated meditation and the guidance of the Buddha, he eventually purified his mind and became an arahant, a fully awakened being. This story teaches us that compassion is not a feeling of pity for someone less fortunate. It is, as the teacher Pema Chodron says, a relationship between equals. It is the ability to see the shared humanity in everyone, even those who commit the most terrible acts. It recognizes that no one is beyond the possibility of transformation. It is a brave and open-hearted engagement with the suffering of the world. The Buddha's compassion was not passive, it was an active, engaged, and fearless force for good. He showed that the greatest power is not the power to destroy, but the power to heal. He taught that by cultivating karuna, we can meet the darkest parts of ourselves and the world with a light that does not waver. We learn to stop running and to face what is here with a steady and loving presence. The parable of the raft. The teachings are not the goal. The Buddha once told a simple story to illustrate a very subtle point about the spiritual path. Imagine a person walking on a long journey who comes to the edge of a great, wide river. The shore they are on is dangerous and full of fear, but the far shore is safe and peaceful. There is no bridge to cross and no ferry to take them. This traveler, being resourceful, decides to build a way across. They gather branches, reeds, and vines from the forest. With skillful effort, they lash them all together, constructing a simple raft. The raft is not beautiful or perfect, but it is functional. It is a tool created for a single, specific purpose: to cross the dangerous water and reach the safety of the other side. This is the application of skillful means, using what is available to solve a problem. Using the raft, the traveler pushes off from the shore and begins to paddle. The journey across the water is successful. They navigate the currents and finally arrive on the far shore, the shore of safety and freedom from fear. The raft has served its purpose perfectly. It has been an indispensable tool for their liberation from the dangerous bank. The journey to this point would have been impossible without it. Now, on the safe shore, the traveler has a choice. The Buddha asked his monks, what should this person do with the raft? Should they, out of a deep sense of gratitude and attachment, think to themselves, "This raft has been so good to me, it saved my life, I will not abandon it"? And so, should they hoist the raft up onto their shoulders and carry it with them as they continue their journey on dry land? The monks agreed that carrying the raft would be a foolish and heavy burden. It would slow them down and make the rest of their journey difficult and painful. The wise thing to do, the Buddha explained, would be to push the raft back into the water or to leave it on the bank for another traveler who might need it. The purpose of the raft was to cross the river, not to be carried forever. Its value was in its use, not in its possession. The Buddha then revealed the meaning of the parable. He said, "The teachings I have given you are like this raft." The Dharma, the collection of all his teachings on wisdom, ethics, and meditation, is a tool. It is a skillful means designed to carry us from the shore of suffering, ignorance, and clinging to the far shore of liberation, wisdom, and peace, which is nirvana. The teachings are a boat, not a destination. This is a crucial lesson. It is a warning against the subtle trap of spiritual materialism. We can become so attached to the teachings themselves, the words, the concepts, the rituals, the identity of being a Buddhist, that we forget their purpose. We start to worship the raft instead of using it to cross the river. We collect spiritual knowledge like treasures, but fail to apply it to our own hearts and minds to find freedom. This story points to the same wisdom found in the famous Zen encounter about emptying your cup. A professor, full of his own knowledge and opinions, came to the Zen master Nanin to ask about Zen. As the master served tea, he poured the professor's cup full and then kept pouring. The tea overflowed and spilled. "The cup is full," said the professor. "No more will go in." Nanin replied, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? The raft is meant to be let go of. The cup is meant to be emptied." This is the spirit of the beginner's mind, or Shoshin, which is so valued in Zen. It is the willingness to not know, to let go of our fixed ideas and concepts, and to see the world with fresh eyes in every moment. We use the concepts of non-attachment or mindfulness as tools, but we must be careful not to turn them into new things to cling to. This ancient parable invites us to look at our own lives. What rafts are we carrying? Are there old beliefs, identities, or even spiritual practices that once served us but have now become a heavy burden? The path of wisdom involves not only knowing what to pick up, but also knowing what to set down. It is a continuous process of using what is helpful and having the wisdom and courage to let it go when its purpose is done. The mustard seed. All beings share this sorrow. There is a story from the time of the Buddha that touches the very heart of impermanence and compassion. It is the story of a young woman named Kisa Gotami. She had given birth to a beautiful baby boy, her first and only child, who was the light of her world. But one day, the child fell ill and died. Kisa Gotami was consumed by a grief so powerful that it shattered her mind. She refused to believe her son was gone. Clutching the small, cold body of her child, she wandered through her village from house to house. She begged everyone she met for medicine, for some magical cure that could bring her son back to life. Her neighbors and friends looked at her with pity, seeing that she had lost her senses to sorrow. They tried to tell her that her son was dead and that nothing could be done, but she would not listen. Finally, a wise old man, seeing her inconsolable pain, offered her a sliver of hope. He could not give her the medicine she sought, but he knew someone who could. He told her to go and find the Buddha, the enlightened one, the great physician of the mind and heart. He told her that if anyone could help her, it would be him. With a flicker of desperate hope, Kisa Gotami ran to find him. She arrived at the place where the Buddha was teaching, pushed through the crowd, and fell at his feet. "Lord," she cried, holding out her son, "can you give me the medicine that will cure my boy?" The Buddha looked at her with eyes full of a vast and gentle compassion. He did not dismiss her or tell her the truth bluntly. He met her where she was. "Yes," he said softly, "I can help you. But to make the medicine, I will need one special ingredient." "What is it?" she asked, her heart leaping with hope. "I will get it for you," the Buddha replied. "I need you to bring me a single, tiny mustard seed." Kisa Gotami was overjoyed. A mustard seed was easy to find, but then the Buddha added one condition. "The mustard seed," he said, "must come from a house where no one, not a child, not a husband or a wife, not a parent or a servant, has ever died." Filled with a renewed sense of purpose, Kisa Gotami began her quest. She went to the first house in the village. "The Buddha has sent me," she said. "I need a mustard seed to make a medicine for my son." The woman of the house was happy to help and went to get one. "But first," Kisa Gotami asked, "has anyone in this house ever died?" The woman's face fell. "The living are few," she said sadly, "but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest sorrow." She went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same everywhere. Every family was willing to give her a mustard seed, but every family had been touched by the hand of death. One had lost a father, another a sister, another a beloved child. There was not a single home in the entire village that had not known the pain of loss. Her hope began to fade, but something else began to dawn in its place. As dusk fell, she sat down by the side of the road, exhausted. She looked out at the flickering lights of the village, appearing and disappearing in the darkness. Her mind became quiet. She realized that her own profound sorrow was not hers alone. It was the shared, universal experience of all beings. In that moment, her personal, isolating grief dissolved into a vast, compassionate understanding of the human condition. With this deep insight into the nature of impermanence, Oranika, her frantic clinging to her son's life, softened. She understood that death is a natural part of life, just as the flickering lights of the village eventually go out. She gently carried her son's body to the charnel ground for the final rites. Her heart was no longer broken by a singular tragedy, but softened by a universal truth. She returned to the Buddha, her mind now peaceful and clear. "Did you bring the mustard seed?" he asked gently. "The work is done, Lord," she replied. "I have understood the teaching." This story powerfully illustrates the wisdom of seeing the teacup as already broken, a teaching from the modern master, Ajahn Chah. By understanding that all things are impermanent, we do not love them less. We love them more fully, knowing our time with them is precious, and that loss is a part of love itself, the arrow of suffering, removing the first arrow. The Buddha often taught with practical, vivid images that cut straight to the heart of our human predicament. One such teaching is the parable of the poisoned arrow. He asked his monks to imagine a man who has been shot with an arrow coated in a deadly poison. His friends and family rush to his side, bringing a surgeon who can remove the arrow and provide an antidote, but the man, in his agony, pushes the surgeon away. "Wait," the man says. "Before you remove this arrow, I must know certain things. I need to know the name of the man who shot me. Was he a nobleman or a commoner? Was he tall or short, dark or fair? And what about the arrow itself? Was the bow it came from a longbow or a crossbow? Was the bowstring made of fiber or of sinew? What kind of wood was the arrow shaft made from? What kind of bird did the feathers on its end come from?" The Buddha looked at his monks and asked, "What would happen to such a man?" The monks agreed that the man would surely die. He would perish from the poison long before he could ever get the answers to all his questions. The essential task, the only thing that truly matters in that moment, is to remove the arrow and treat the wound. All other questions are a dangerous and fatal distraction. This story is a powerful metaphor for the Buddha's entire approach to the spiritual path. His teaching is not a system of philosophy or a set of beliefs to be debated. It is a practical medicine for the poison of suffering. When people came to him asking abstract questions about the universe, is the world eternal or not? Does the soul exist after death? He would often remain silent. He knew these questions were like the foolish man's demands. They distract us from the urgent work at hand. The urgent work is to address the reality of our own dukkha, our own suffering and unsatisfactoriness. We are all walking around with poisoned arrows lodged in our hearts. These arrows are our reactions to life. An unkind word, a loss, a disappointment. These are the first arrows, the unavoidable pains of life. But then we shoot ourselves with a second arrow. This is the arrow of our own making. It is our reaction, our judgment, our storytelling, our resistance. The poison on this second arrow is our own clinging and craving. It is the obsessive thinking about why it happened, who is to blame, how unfair it is. We get lost in the story of our pain, and this story is what truly makes us suffer. The first arrow is painful, but the second arrow is what creates lasting suffering. The Buddha's teaching is focused entirely on learning how not to shoot ourselves with that second arrow. This is the essence of the second noble truth, which states that suffering is caused by our craving, our aversion, and our ignorance. The problem is not the event itself. The problem is our relationship to the event. The practice of mindfulness, of clear seeing, is the practice of learning to feel the pain of the first arrow without adding the poison of the second. We learn to observe our own reactions without getting swept away by them. When you feel a difficult emotion, like anger or sadness, can you simply notice it as a sensation in your body without immediately creating a story around it? Can you feel the heat of anger without blaming someone for it? Can you feel the weight of sadness without telling yourself a story of loss and lack? This is the work of removing the arrow. It is attending to the direct experience of the present moment, rather than getting lost in the past or the future. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh offers a beautiful image for this practice. He invites us to learn how to hold our suffering like a mother holds her crying baby. We don't try to suppress the baby's cries or analyze why it is crying. We just hold it with tenderness, with warmth, with gentle, caring attention. In the same way, we can learn to hold our own pain with mindfulness and compassion, allowing it to be just as it is, without resistance. So the next time you feel the sting of a first arrow, pause. Breathe. Notice the temptation to ask all the questions, to figure it all out, to find someone to blame, and see if you can, just for a moment, let go of the story. Simply come back to the raw sensations in your body. Come back to your breath. This is the surgeon's gentle hand. This is the practice of removing the arrow and allowing the wound to finally begin to heal. The nature of the mind, the wind, the flag, and you. There is a classic Zen story that speaks deeply about the nature of our mind. One afternoon, two Buddhist monks stood outside their monastery, observing a temple flag flapping briskly in the wind. The cloth rippled and waved under the broad blue sky, drawing their silent attention. The first monk watched for a moment, then said gently, "The flag is moving. The cloth itself dances with the breeze." Beside him, the second monk frowned and replied, "No, it is the wind that moves." Without the wind, the flag would be still. What you call movement comes only from the invisible forces around us. Their friendly debate soon became more animated. Each was sure his perception grasped the truth. Back and forth, they exchanged ideas. Flag and wind, cause and effect, outer and inner. Their voices grew a little louder with each attempt to explain reality, their minds caught in the whirl of wanting to be right. So much of life begins in just this way, a difference of view, a story we believe, and soon we are lost in debate, pulled away from presence. Unbeknownst to them, the great Zen master Huineng, the sixth patriarch known as Huineng, approached and listened in silence. He watched the animation in their faces and the ripples of tension in their bodies. Finally, he intervened with a calm, penetrating voice. "It is not the flag that moves," he said. "It is not the wind that moves." Aye, the monks fell silent, curiosity now replacing their certainty. With a half smile, Huineng added, "It is your mind that moves." His words hung in the air, clearing away the fog of their argument. This story reveals a vibrant truth. Every moment, it is our minds that color and interpret the world. Our experience, what we call reality, arises as much from within as without. The sky is blue, the leaf falls, the bell sounds, but only through the mind's perception do these moments become meaningful or mundane, joyful or sad. Our minds weave a tapestry from sensations, thoughts, and memories, inventing stories with each passing instant. Pause for a breath now. Notice what thoughts are moving within you. Are they fast-paced, circling like a restless breeze, or slow and swirling like autumn leaves? Is there tension in your body or a certain ease? The practice of Zen wisdom invites us to observe. It is not the event itself, be it wind or flag, sound or silence, that determines our feeling, but the internal weather of our own mind and heart. Imagine standing by a river that flows endlessly past. The water represents our steady, quiet awareness. Along its banks, the mind tosses in driftwood, memories, attachments, plans, and judgments. Sometimes, a great storm comes and the river is nearly choked by debris. Other times, it runs so clear you can see the pebbles below. Yet, the water keeps flowing, effortlessly. You are the river, not the driftwood. You are presence, not just the stories that cross your mind. Throughout your day, see if you can inhabit this observer's perspective. You are invited to become gently curious, noticing thoughts arise and pass away like clouds against a vast sky. When impatience or anxiety visits, greet them as travelers in the inn of awareness. Do not try to chase them away, nor cling to them. With every breath, return to the natural flow beneath it all, a quiet that cannot be disturbed by any movement on the surface. The teaching of observer mind, also known as pure awareness, is echoed again and again by Buddhist masters. Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen, taught that Zazen, or sitting meditation, reveals this source within us that is always calm, always reliable. Whether the flag flaps madly or lies peaceful, the ground beneath it, the still, open mind, remains unchanged. In this space, thoughts are free to come and go, yet you are not pulled in every direction. Modern teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh remind us, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. In practice, this means learning to meet your own mind with compassion. When judgment arises, simply label it judgment and return to your breath. When self-doubt emerges, call it doubt and observe how it feels in the body. A subtle tightening, perhaps a drop in the belly. Just naming an emotion can dissolve much of its power, allowing clarity and kindness to grow where confusion once stood. Let your own experience become your teacher. In the gentle act of sitting in silence, eyes closed, breathing softly, notice the parade of thoughts and sensations. Some will be familiar old stories, others may surprise you. Watch them like a patient monk observing the endless wheel of seasons. Nothing need be forced. There is a whisper of wisdom in allowing each thought to arise, unfold, and dissolve back into the stillness from which it came. Whenever agitation or overthinking stirs within, imagine yourself as the vast blue sky. Your thoughts, clouds, sometimes bright, sometimes stormy, will always come and go. Some may linger, casting momentary shadows. Others may pass quickly, leaving hardly a trace. Through it all, the sky remains open, allowing, unchanged. You are that sky. You are openness itself. And in that openness, both the movement of the flag and the stirring of the mind find rest. Tonight, as you let your body sink into the mattress, take a few soft breaths and watch the play of thoughts behind your closed eyes. No need to control or stop them. Watch as they ripple and swirl, just as wind stirs the surface of a pond. With every out-breath, return to the still, quiet center within. The true nature of your mind is spacious, peaceful, and free. An unshakable ground you can rest into again and again. Interconnectedness. The infinite threads of life. Sit quietly for a moment and imagine a simple bowl of rice brought to your table. If you look deeply with the eyes of Zen wisdom, this ordinary food becomes a doorway to understanding. Touching the grain with your fingers, you see more than white pearls. You see rain, sun, earth, seed, and the unfolding of countless silent miracles across time. A bowl of rice is a chapter from the story of the universe, handed gently to you by countless beings. To hold this rice in mindfulness is to feel the quiet labor of farmers whose hands tilled the fields. Their sweat, laughter, early mornings and hopes are there. The clouds that drifted slow and silent overhead, becoming rain, are there. The buzzing bees and earthworms, the patient oxen, each left an invisible signature. No meal is ever truly solitary. As you eat, you are in silent conversation with the entire world. Let your breath settle as you reflect on this. There is no clear border where I end and the world begins. Your body, a web of senses, lives in constant exchange. Each inhale pulls in ancient molecules, once part of mountains, oceans, forests. Your exhale gives back warmth, moisture, life to the air. The beating of your heart is a rhythm synchronized with the heartbeat of all creation. In Buddhism, this web is called dependent origination, or particular amupada. The teaching is subtle and profound. Nothing exists by itself, not a single moment or molecule. Every sorrow and every delight, every failure and every blossoming, arise from a play of infinite conditions. Even a single word you speak ripples through the universe, touching minds and hearts in ways you do not see. Imagine the bowl in your hands as a net woven with golden threads. One line is the farmer, another the potter, another the rain, and another your own hunger. If any thread were pulled, the net would unravel and the bowl could not reach your table. This understanding dissolves the myth of separateness, self and other, giver and receiver, all are roles played in the great theatre of interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh, the gentle Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, to be is to interbe. He invites us to see the sun in our tea, the forest in the paper of our book, the cloud in the ink on the page. When you look at another person, know, you are looking at a field of ancestors, a living history, 1,000 unnamed kindnesses. In the practice of mindful eating, pause before lifting the spoon. Offer silent gratitude for those you may never meet, the drivers, the traders, those who sustain the plants and work to nourish you. This kind of gratitude is not forced. It arises naturally as you awaken to the truth of interconnectedness. It softens frustration, brings patience, humbles sorrow, and gently increases wonder. Let this vision expand to daily activities. Every item you touch bears a secret story. Your clothes were spun by hands far away. Your home was built tree by tree, stone by stone, all shaped by unknown, interwoven lives. When sadness or loneliness visits in the night, remember, you never walk alone. 1,000 lives travel with you, each breath a gift, each thought a bridge to the vast web of being. This insight brings responsibility as well as comfort. To harm another, even in thought, is to harm yourself. To nurture kindness is to water the roots of your own joy. Your presence, your listening, your small acts of care, to friend, stranger, animal or tree, are threads that strengthen the whole tapestry, shimmering with unspeakable beauty in the light of awareness. Return, in restful regard, to the bowl of rice, to the breath that rises and falls, to the miracle of the ordinary. Know that to live is to participate in this infinite dance of causes and conditions without beginning or end. The teachings remind us, we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. In every moment, you can choose to see with the eyes of wholeness, breathe with the heart of compassion, and rest in the gentle truth that you belong to everything. The empty boat. Freedom from reactive mind. Picture yourself adrift in the soft pre-dawn light, mist hanging low on a silent lake, the surface mirroring the delicate colors of the sky. You move gently, your small boat gliding with barely a sound. Every detail around you, the cool breeze on your cheeks, the distant echo of a bird, the gentle lapping of water, anchors you in the present, wrapped in a quiet embrace. Suddenly, a dull thud against your side brings you instantly to alertness. Your hand tightens reflexively around the oar, ready to defend or blame. As you peer around, you see no one to meet your gaze, only an empty boat bumping softly against yours, carried mindlessly by the current. The irritation in your chest releases, almost with a sense of relief. You breathe out, realizing that it would be senseless to argue with the breeze or demand an apology from drifting wood. In this simple awakening, a world of unnecessary suffering evaporates, replaced by wide acceptance. This experience is a gateway to understanding the deep roots of reactivity. How often in daily life do you feel stung by words, setbacks, or the blunders of others, only to discover, upon closer inspection, that much of your pain is born not from the event itself, but from your mind's rapid rush to construct stories of personal slight? The wisdom of the empty boat reveals a path to freedom. Let experience arrive as it is, free from the habit of taking everything personally. Imagine walking through your day. A stranger steps in front of you in line. A friend forgets to call. The rain falls as you step outside with no umbrella. Each event is an empty boat, impersonal, unplanned, simply part of the river of life. You can tense, argue, hold tightly to grievances, or you can let the boat drift, watching as irritation rises and falls, then dissolves back into the stillness from which it came. Attending to your breath, allow your shoulders to soften. Each inhalation is like a paddle stroke, drawing you back to presence. Each exhalation is a letting go, releasing you from the anchor of reactivity. Sometimes the boat that bumps you will not be empty. Sometimes others act out of their pain or confusion. Even then, you can choose. React with the rigidness of ego, or meet the moment with the spaciousness of understanding. What if everything is simply wind and current? In practice, non-reactivity does not mean numbness. It means cultivating a mind like deep water, able to hold every ripple and wave, every passing breeze, without losing its essential clarity or depth. Imagine the patient ferryman crossing a river, encountering storm and calm alike, but never mistaking himself for the weather. Each event, joyful or challenging, becomes an opportunity to recognize where you grip tightly and where you can open your hands and simply allow. Anatta, or not self, whispers in these moments. Maybe you are not this suitcase of stories, not the sum of praise or criticism, success or embarrassment. Maybe you, like the empty boat, are part of a larger flow, moved by the tides of causes and conditions, meeting others gently, sometimes with collision, always with the potential for release. When you embrace this teaching, the mind finds true refuge not in controlling the world, but in surrendering the old habits of clinging and resentment. As you deepen into practice, experiment with meeting interruptions, disagreements, or disappointment as passing vessels, drifting through your awareness. Instead of tightening your grip, ask quietly, is this truly about me? What happens if I do not struggle? Notice how much lightness and liberation comes from this gentle shift. You do not need to let others walk over you, but you are free from the need to carry every jolt and bump as a personal wound. Reflect on the words of Suzuki Roshi, who taught that reactions, like thoughts, are just visitors. Leave your front door and your back door open. Let them come and go. Just don't serve them tea. Let the bump of the boat come, let it go, and return to the vastness of the present. Over and over, in the space between reaction and response, you are invited home to peace. Allow this insight to infuse your nightly rest. As you settle into bed, sense how the day's collisions, frustrations, surprises, and joys are all just boats set adrift in a larger sea. None of them need to be paddled after, defended against, or clung to. You may simply lie back, observe the gentle movement on the water of your mind, and trust the current to carry you where you need to be. In this state of presence, compassion flows naturally, for yourself, for others, for every empty boat you may meet by dawn's first light. Acceptance is not defeat. It is serenity, the realization that life need not be fought at every turn. Here, In the soft hush before sleep, you can finally set down the oar, unclench your heart, and let the last waves of the day ripple quietly away. May this teaching stay with you. Everything comes and goes, and you are the silent lake, patient and inexhaustible beneath all appearances. Drift deeper into the wisdom of the empty boat and know that peace is always a breath, always a letting go, away. The farmer and his horse, the gentle strength of equanimity. In a quiet mountain village, there lived an old farmer named Muhan. One morning, his only horse ran away into the wild hills. The neighbors rushed over, clucking their tongues. "Such terrible luck, Muhan," they lamented. He simply nodded, his eyes soft and steady, replying, "Perhaps." That day, Muhan went about his work, tending his garden, gathering wood, accepting what had come without expectation or resistance. A week later, the runaway horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild companions. The villagers gathered again, astonished. "Wonderful luck, Muhan," they cried. He looked at them, a gentle smile barely forming at his lips. "Perhaps," he said again, continuing with the chores that shaped his humble life. Around him, the fields and skies paid no mind to luck or misfortune. They simply existed in their steady rhythms. The following day, Muhan's son attempted to ride one of the wild horses and fell, breaking his leg. The neighbors shook their heads. "Such misfortune!" But Muhan remained unchanged, carefully tending to his son, his hands neither hurried nor harsh. "Perhaps," he murmured once more. While the world swirled with judgments and outcomes, Muhan's spirit set down each story as gently as laying aside a coiled rope. Soon after, soldiers arrived in the village, conscripting all able-bodied young men to fight a distant conflict. Muhan's son, his leg still healing, was spared the draft and stayed safely home. The neighbors gathered, relief and envy stirring in their hearts. "How fortunate, Muhan!" they exclaimed. "Perhaps," he said, his voice calm as still water. The seasons continued to turn, and he returned to feeding his animals, listening to wind and rain. Muhan's story is a living Zen example of equanimity, or upekkha. To meet the river of events, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, with gentle balance is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Equanimity is not indifference. It is the strength of openness and balance, a quiet acceptance that neither clings to joy nor shrinks from sorrow. It is the courage to remain balanced while the winds of life shift direction. In daily practice, notice how quickly your mind jumps to label events as good or bad, fortunate or unfair. This reactive mind grabs onto stories, spinning webs of hope or fear. The teaching of equanimity invites you to soften your grip, to see each happening as it is. Part of the natural flow, arising and passing, neither demanding nor explaining. Muhan's perhaps embodies this gentle wisdom. It is the space where peace can grow. Sit quietly and observe your breath. Allow thoughts and emotions to rise and fall like waves on a calm sea. You are invited to practice the middle way, finding steadiness between extremes. This does not mean denying feelings or ignoring pain. It is trusting that, beneath turmoil, there is a field of awareness vast enough to hold everything with kindness and clarity. As Zen master Suzuki Roshi taught, when you accept everything, everything is your teacher. The teaching of the farmer and his horse reminds us that certainty is an illusion. Life is a constant unfolding, 1,000 threads weaving the tapestry of experience. In the heart of uncertainty lies the possibility for tenderness, wisdom, and contentment. Let equanimity be your anchor as the day unfolds. When good fortune arrives, bow to it with gratitude, but do not grasp. When sorrow visits, meet it with compassion, knowing it too will pass. The mind steady as bamboo, the heart flexible as water. This is the peace beyond circumstance, the gentle strength of Zen wisdom. Before you sleep, recall Muhan's story. Whisper perhaps to each joy or disappointment, letting stories loosen their grip, opening space for deep rest. In equanimity, you become like the quiet mountain, not moved by every wind, but sheltering all that passes with gentle presence. Chop wood, carry water, the miracle in the mundane. In a Zen monastery by the ancient pine forests, Rin's days unfolded like the quiet fronds of a fern, slowly, yet with subtle symmetry. The mornings began in silence, mist swirling above the gravel paths as he made his way to the woodshed, axe in hand. Each movement became a study in attention, the roughness of the wooden handle warming to his palm, the anticipation before steel met wood, the echoing ring as each log split apart beneath the blade. Sometimes, thoughts of destiny or spiritual greatness drifted through Rin's mind. What is my true purpose? When will I awaken? Yet, every time he voiced such longings, Master Daishu would meet him with simple presence. Rin, chop wood, he would say. Rin, carry water. There were no riddles, only invitations to return, again and again, to the living presence of each task. Chopping wood revealed to Rin 1,000 lessons. When he struck too hard, the axe would lodge in the log, demanding patience and gentle loosening. When he rushed, the pieces flew haphazardly, risking harm. But when he let his body relax, breathing with the rhythm of the work, the chopping became as natural as breath, and the logs yielded willingly. Here was effort without striving, action without struggle, the Zen teaching of Wu Wei, effortless action, manifesting in the simplest form. Carrying water taught him about surrender and humility. The weight changed with every step. Occasionally, Rin spilled drops, watching as sunlight caught the falling water, making tiny rainbows on the stone path. He realized there was beauty in every loss. The practice was not perfection, but presence, forgiving the spills and returning without blame. At mid-morning, he would join the community in preparing rice. The grains slid cool between his fingers, every bowl a silent conversation with the earth, sky, and those who grew the food. The subtle fragrance rising as pot met fire, the ordinary became luminous. Pay attention to small things, Daishu murmured. Large things will care for themselves. As weeks passed, Rin's impatient longing for enlightenment softened. The sharp boundaries between sacred and mundane faded. He swept fallen leaves from the path and found pleasure in the slow swirl of dust, seeing each speck as sunlight dancing. He listened to the laughter in the kitchen, the chirping of cicadas at dusk, the crackle of pine cones in the fire, all as invitations to awaken, simply by noticing. Other monks sometimes asked Daishu for advanced teachings or secret methods. The master would smile and invite them to carry more water, chop more wood. Life is practice, practice is life. Do not look elsewhere. This repeated return to ordinary activity dissolved the walls between meditation and living. No place, no moment was outside the path. Even weariness and doubt were accepted as part of the rhythm. On festival days, Rin swept the temple steps with extra care. Each stroke of the broom was an act of gratitude, honoring the teachers who came before, the ancestors who shaped Zen's path, the guests who would arrive to join in silent sitting and chanting. Daily tasks, when done with full awareness, became offerings to the world, to the mystery, to oneself. In time, Rin realized what Daishu meant. Awakening is not an event, but a way of touching life, again and again, with openness and wonder. It is being present for the warmth of the sunbeam as it enters your room, being patient with sore muscles, finding rest in the embrace of a simple cup of tea. Chop wood, carry water is not a command, but a reminder. You are always home, wherever you are, if you are present. As you lie down tonight, sense the blanket warming your skin, the shape of your body relaxing into the mattress, the hush of your own breath. Each sensation is a bell inviting you back. There is nowhere else you need to go. Every ordinary act, plumping a pillow, closing your eyes, letting go of thoughts, is worthy of your full attention. Rest in the miracle of being, letting your daily life become the most precious teaching of all. May you carry water for yourself and others with patience, chop wood for your own comfort with steady hands, and meet each dawn with gratitude for the simple, largely unnoticed acts that weave the tapestry of peace and presence. The greatest awakening is found again and again in what is most near, most humble, most real. The sound of one hand, entering the field of not knowing. In a tranquil temple garden, shaded by tall pines and the slow movement of clouds, a young student named Emmy arrived searching for something more than ordinary answers. The gentle sway of bamboo, the distant ringing of temple bells, and the earthy scent of moss greeted newcomers, inviting them to sit quietly, to listen more deeply. The old master, Hakwin, always began with a question rather than an answer. "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" he would ask softly, letting the silence after the question linger. His eyes rarely wavered from the present moment. At first, Emmy approached the koan with the determination she had once brought to her academic studies. She tried clapping one hand against her knee, brushing fingers through the wind, tapping gently on stone or water, inventing every possible sound a single hand might make. Her thinking became urgent, circling around a solution she felt must exist just out of reach. Frustration grew as each experiment led only to more doubt, the answer dissolving like mist each time she grasped at it. Koans, ancient Zen riddles, are designed to confound logic and dissolve attachment to knowing. Beginner's mind, or shoshin, is the quality they call forth, a mind free of fixed knowledge, expectations, or cleverness. In grappling with the sound of one hand, Emmy began to notice the undercurrent of her own habits, the drive to prove herself, the rush to conclusion, the subtle fear of not knowing. The world feels small with uncertainty, but opens with curiosity. Many evenings, Emmy sat alone in meditation, the question echoing through the hush of moonlit hallways. Sometimes she picked up the broom and swept softly, listening for meaning in every bristle, every gust of wind in the courtyard, every distant dog barking in the night. Her listening became softer, less urgent. She stopped seeking and started simply noticing. The delicate movement of leaves, the creak of the old gate, the warmth of sun on her back. One night, Master Hakwin joined her in the garden. He did not speak for a long while, gazing instead at the reflection of branches in the pond's surface. Finally, he tossed a pebble onto the water, breaking the mirror with soft ripples. "Emmy, listen for the sound of no stone," he said. "Empty your cup and let the world pour itself in." His words pointed not to a trick, but to presence itself. The invitation was to drop all answers and rest in the direct experience of the moment. Over days and weeks, Emmy's grip on the problem loosened. She realized that thought, like clapping, is always meeting itself, two sides needing one another to make a noise. The sound of one hand clapping is not found in physical action or clever logic. It arises in the willingness to receive silence, to allow a question to remain open. Presence is the answer, even when the mind wants an end. The more Emmy surrendered, the more she noticed subtleties, the tension in her body when grasping for solutions, the ease when letting go, the full sensation of breath moving in and out. Washing rice, she watched tiny droplets bounce, hearing all the sounds at once, a chorus of life, unbound by single answers. When old doubts whispered, she began to greet them not with resistance, but with gentle curiosity. "I don't know," she allowed, letting her mind empty and receive. Zen masters teach that don't know mind is not a lack, but an openness to surprise, to freshness. In not knowing, wonder is restored. Everything is new, unexplainable, alive. The everyday world is suddenly animated with teachings, a bird's call, the weight of an old book, the hush inside a closed teacup, the slow release of rain. Every koan, every moment is an invitation to drop pretension and sink softly into experience, both ordinary and mysterious. Meditation became for Emmy a field of infinite possibility. Sometimes a thought would bloom. Maybe the sound is touch, or feeling, or breath, and she would watch it rise and pass like a leaf carried on the surface of the pond, neither grasping nor rejecting. Her sitting deepened. The boundaries between I, question, and world blurred, as if even her identity was just another sound, appearing and vanishing. Doubt, she realized, was not her enemy. The ancient saying, "Great doubt, great awakening, little doubt, little awakening, no doubt, no awakening." By trusting uncertainty, resting in the fertile ground of not knowing, she found the strength to meet life honestly and with a humble heart. The more questions she welcomed, the clearer her seeing became. In the cracks between answers, a gentle light flickered and grew. Before sleep, Emmy would hold her hand over her chest, breathing with the rhythm of animal warmth and twilight. Each inhalation was a question, each exhalation a soft letting go. What is the sound of one hand? She did not seek to answer anymore, but to listen. And through listening, her whole life slowly began to sing with peace. Zen invites you to let go of certainty. Sit with questions. Notice the texture of breath, the play of light on your eyelids, the weight of your body in bed. You do not need to solve your life, only to meet it fully, empty-handed and awake. May the sound of one hand, silent, open, infinite, guide you gently toward deep rest, unburdened by knowing, embraced by the song of the present moment. The Buddha's final words, the great rest in impermanence. Many seasons passed, and the Buddha's journey neared its gentle close. The forests he once wandered barefoot now grew thick with lore, and the community that gathered in his name had multiplied across villages and far kingdoms. His hair, once dark, grew silver as moonlit water, but his wisdom remained clear, warm and constant as the morning sun. Each day, the Sangha circled him for guidance, each disciple carrying their own burdens and hopes. In his final months, the Buddha felt the ebbing of his body and the approach of impermanence. Sickness weighed on his frame, but his mind remained untroubled, like the inner sky free from clouds. The Sangha gathered beneath blooming salad trees, the air fragrant, the leaves whispering stories of countless evenings gone by. He spoke with deep presence, his voice a hush guiding the assembly through the truth of change. "Beloved ones," he said, "do not grieve my passing. All formations, flowers and bodies alike, rise and fade in their time. Let your refuge be mindfulness, this moment, this breath." The message was clear. The lamp of the Dharma is not found in relics, traditions, or monuments, but in each person's steady attention to the here and now. The practice was not to cling to the Buddha, nor to grief, but to deepen in awareness and compassion for all beings. People pressed near for his final guidance. Some wondered, "How shall we live when you are gone?" He replied, "Trust yourselves, be diligent, be present. The path is not far away. It is your own daily walking, sitting and breathing." His words echoed the middle way he had always taught, neither holding too tightly nor letting go too loosely. Diligence in ordinary things, care in speech, patience in hardship, kindness in every act. Even as illness claimed his body, he asked for only simple comforts: a bowl of rice, a glass of water, the company of friends. The Sangha offered prayers and songs, brushing his hair, watching over him as the night birds sang. The Buddha gave teachings in small moments: how to sweep the ground with care, how to forgive quickly, how to speak gently and listen to others with an open heart. Through the night, disciples shared memories, each recalling a lesson learned, an act of kindness received, the steady light of the Buddha's presence in their hardest times. From the young monk who had overcome anger to the grandmother who found peace while tending gardens, their stories became living vessels for his wisdom. The Buddha smiled, listening, knowing the Dharma would continue through their hands and daily lives. His last words, Vayadhamma Sankhara, Apamadana Sampadetha. All things are impermanent, strive with diligence, settled over the assembly like dew. It was not a goodbye, but a soft invitation to wakefulness, to savor each moment, to trust change, to let sorrow and joy pass through the open door of awareness. In that instant, the Sangha understood. Being present is the greatest honor to the Master's life. When the Buddha's breath ceased, the grove held a deep silence, like still waters untouched by wind. The disciples wept, some quietly, some with great sobs, then bowed their heads and set about practicing what they had been taught. They supported one another, offered food to the poor, built altars not of gold but of simple stones, and remembered that the path of enlightenment was walked by many feet, not just by one. In the weeks after, rituals and remembrances filled the temple, bowls of rice offered to ancestors, prayers spoken at dawn and dusk, gentle sweeping of floors, silent meditation as the night deepened. The simplicity of ordinary life, carried out with diligence and presence, became the ground for the Buddha's living legacy. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, recall the wisdom of the Buddha's ending. Let go of grasping for what cannot be held. Cherish the miracle of presence, breath by breath. Practice small kindness, strive for honesty, meet both pain and joy with compassion. Like the sala tree's flowers, everything will fade, and everything will bloom anew. The true lamp is this awareness, steady, unwavering, waiting in the quiet of your own heart. May you surrender gently to sleep, letting every thought dissolve, every sorrow soften, every hope rest in impermanence. The final teaching is simple. As things change, remain present. As life turns, remain diligent. As you seek, let the seeking give way to peace. In the watching, in the letting go, the heart of the Dharma, alive and luminous, will cradle you through the deepest night. The legacy of Zen. Transmission beyond words. In the gentle quiet before dawn, the Sangha gathered in the temple hall, the air fragrant with incense, soft light pooling on polished wood. Long after the Buddha's passing, the Zen tradition continued blossoming across mountains, valleys, rivers and winding fog-covered roads, transmitting wisdom from teacher to disciple in ways both seen and unseen. The lamp of the Dharma, now a living stream, flowed quietly into new generations, carried not by grand declarations, but by small gestures and patient, mindful presence. Zen's journey traveled far, from the forests of northern India to rocky hills in China, across fertile fields in Korea, and through mist-swept valleys in Japan. With each step, the teachings shed excess, focusing on the direct experience of awareness, stripped of ornament. Bodhidharma crossed mountain passes, his robe battered by wind. He meditated facing the wall, his gaze unyielding, and inspired disciples to probe beyond words and become living questions. Centuries later, in a quiet valley, Dogen sat among golden leaves and wrote, "Practice and realization are not two." His students washed rice, swept paths, and recited the Sutra of the Heart while raindrops tapped the temple roof. In every age, Zen found refuge in the ordinary, in chopsticks, laughter, the scent of damp earth and wood smoke, in the way sunlight spilled across tatami mats as morning crept into the room. Transmission occurred not just in ceremonies, but in silent meetings, cups of tea passed between hands, a single flower presented as an unspoken message. Masters and students bowed, breathed together, tending gardens side by side. Sometimes a lesson came through silence, sometimes through a simple phrase, "Sweep the path and the mind will follow." Generations lived and died by these words, passing them through direct experience. The mind-to-mind transmission became the heartbeat of Zen's legacy. When a student asked for enlightenment, some teachers answered by lifting a finger, closing a door, or simply remaining still. This way of pointing without naming taught seekers to look beyond language to the raw, undivided heart of awareness. Suzuki Roshi once said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind there are few." Beginner's mind is the soil from which all practice springs. Across hundreds of years, women and men, cooks, poets, ferrymen and elders quietly carried the Dharma. A mother teaching her child to walk, a villager hammering nails into a new roof, a nun chanting under the full moon. These became fresh vessels for awakening. The Dharma lived in small acts, ordinary kindness, patient listening, skillful hands guiding bread into the oven and water into the bowl. Zen's transmission was never finished. It rippled outwards endlessly, responding to new lands, new times, new voices. Sometimes it arrived as poetry in a letter to a friend, sometimes as a stone placed just so on the moss, sometimes as the silence shared by travelers pausing together beside a waterfall. In each moment, awareness was the thread, woven, unwoven, rewoven, connecting souls in the vast fabric of practice. The legacy was not locked in scrolls or history alone. It pulsed in the small rituals of dawn and dusk, in the way water was poured for visitors, in the act of mending torn clothes with careful fingers. Zen lived in presence, not perfection, humility, not dogma, offering, not ownership. With each generation, the Dharma renewed itself, alive in every "don't know" and in every gentle return to the breath. Dogen's most famous teaching lingers: to study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by the 10,000 things. In every age, practitioners stepped beyond division and stepped into vastness, trusting the teachings to unfold anew as life changed, as roots sank deeper and branches reached higher into midnight sky. Sometimes legacy is visible, in old stone steps worn smooth, in bowls passed down, or in the tranquil pond reflecting sky and pine. More often, it is hidden, in the steady quiet of a mind returning to balance after meeting loss, in the patience of someone tending the ill, in forgiveness after hard words are spoken, in the breath that anchors fear, in the small acts that make up a day. The transmission is always available, just as the Buddha's voice echoed across centuries. so does the gentle invitation to return. Make tea with care. Sweep your room with attention. Listen to the one beside you with your whole heart, no matter what words are spoken. When you sit, sit. When you stand, stand. In this way, the legacy of Zen passes through you, alive and complete. Tonight, rest knowing that every gesture, every moment of presence, every time you choose kindness, you become an inheritor of Zen's living stream. You are both teacher and student in every breath. The Dharma travels not because of what you believe, but because of how you attend to what is. Let transmission pass through your ordinary hands, as rice passes into a bowl, as water gathers in a cupped palm, as peace arrives softly the moment you let it. Let the stories settle as night deepens, the room quiet all around you, the pulse of your body gathering itself for rest. There is nowhere else you need to be, nowhere else you need to go. Zen wisdom invites us gently. Return to the breath, return to the body, return to the simple awareness of being alive, right here and now. Everything you have heard is enough. You are enough. This space, this moment, is complete. Let your shoulders relax, your jaw soften, your hands rest open on the blanket. Notice the sensation of the air, the hum of blood moving, the warmth beneath your skin. In this invitation to come home to yourself, all demand falls away. There is no effort required. Simply allow the body to feel safe, the mind to quiet, the heart to settle into gentle acceptance. Let go of striving. Simply breathe. As the last traces of thought drift across the surface of awareness, welcome them as you would passing clouds above a mountain, appearing, shifting, vanishing with the breeze. Tonight, you do not need to solve, produce, impress, or achieve anything. The miracle of sleep awaits you as a blessing, a sanctuary for deep rest. Release any tension left in your body. Permit yourself to surrender to the gentle darkness. The teachings remind us, you are here, and that is enough. The journey of the Buddha, of Zen ancestors, the practice of beginner's mind, all have led you right here to the gift of presence. In the quiet, allow gratitude to fill your chest. Thank yourself for arriving, for listening, for making space for peace. Everything you need is always within reach, in the breath, in simplicity, in the act of letting go. If sadness, hope, or longing visits you in the night, greet each gently, letting feelings unfurl on their own. Bring your attention back to the rhythm of your breathing, falling and rising like gentle waves. You are the silent lake, the spacious sky, the soft boat drifting into deepest sleep. When you are ready, invite sleep as you would a trusted friend. No force, no rush, simply a natural glide into softness. If you feel called, return to this peaceful space whenever life grows turbulent. Here you may always find sanctuary, warmth, clarity, a harbor where presence flourishes. This space is yours to revisit, a refuge awaiting your return. Should the teachings or stories touch a quiet longing in you, subscribe to keep this port of peace close. Each time you re-enter, the stories will greet you as old friends. The teachings will unfold anew, and deep rest will find you. As you drift towards sleep, savor the marvel of this ordinary act. Just breathing, just letting go, just surrendering the day. Zen wisdom honors the humble wonder of lying down, of releasing thought, of trusting life to carry you through the night, gently and completely. Good night and deep peace. May your dreams be easy, your heart content, and your return to presence always close at hand.